Hello and welcome to Learn with Ryan. Today what we are going to talk about is rounding numbers. We're going to have a look at how to round to the nearest whole number, how to round to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places and 3 decimal places. Now you might be thinking, what on earth is rounding all about? Why do we have to round numbers? Well, suppose we were dealing with a rectangle here and notice that the measurements are given as long decimals, aren't they? So to make calculations easier, what we would like to do is round the numbers. For example, the length that measures 4.4962, we can round that measurement to 4.5 because that number is very close to 4.5, isn't it? And 4.5 is a nice easy number that we can use. For example, if we were to work out the perimeter of that rectangle, it's an easier number that we can use to work out the perimeter. Now suppose we want to round the number 4.2 to the nearest whole number. In other words, we want to think about what is closer to 4.2. Is it going to be 4 or is it going to be 5? Now for some of you that might be quite obvious. A lot of you will say 4. 4.2 is definitely closer to 4 than it is to 5. Now, sometimes you might get harder examples. So an easy way to think about it, some people like to think about it in terms of a number line. When I teach this concept, I like to think of it in terms of a hill like this. And imagine you're cycling up this hill and we need to think about where you end up. So we're thinking about 4 and 5, which one's it closest to? So here I'm going to write 4. And on the far right, I'm going to write 5. So where's 4.2 going to go on here? Well, 4.2 is definitely not on this side. It's going to be over here somewhere, isn't it? So what we can do is we can just put 4.2 here. Let's suppose it's there, 4.2, I'm going to write. And suppose you're riding a bike from 4, but you stop at 4.2 and you stop pedaling. Where are you going to end up? Well, imagine it. Imagine you're riding a bike up to 4.2, you suddenly stop, you're going to fall back down to 4, aren't you? And therefore, 4.2 rounded to the nearest whole number is 4. Let's have a look at another example. Suppose we want to round 2.75 to the nearest whole number. So what I can do is I can start off by writing 2 and 3 at the bottom. Bang in the middle is 2.5. Now 2.75 is going to be after that. If that doesn't make sense, maybe think of it in terms of money. 2.5 is the same as £2.50. So 2.75 is going to go here, somewhere between 2.5 and 3. Now again, imagine you're riding your bicycle and you end up at 2.75. You stop pedaling, where are you going to end up? Well, you're going to roll down the hill to 3, aren't you? So 2.75 to the nearest whole number is 3. Now you might be thinking, what happens if we are actually bang in the middle? So what happens if we want to round 2.5 to the nearest whole number? Well, as a general rule, if you are bang in the middle, then you have to round up. So 2.5 to the nearest whole number is 3. Now let's look at rounding to 1 decimal place. And let's go straight to an example. Suppose we want to round 2.42 to 1 decimal place. So for this question, we need to ask ourselves, is it closer to 2.4 or 2.5? If it helps, maybe add a 0 at the end of 2.4 and at the end of 2.5. So 2.42 is going to be on the left hand side because we know bang in the middle is going to be 2.45 and 2.42 is less than that. So 2.42 is roughly going to go here. So now imagine riding your bicycle and you stop at 2.42. Where are you going to end up? Well, you're going to slide down to 2.4, aren't you? So 2.42 rounded to 1 decimal place is 2.4. Here's another example. Suppose we want to write the number 9.683 to 1 decimal place. So in other words, we need to ask ourselves, is this number closer to 9.6 or is it closer to 9.7? Well, where's 9.683 going on our diagram? Well, if it helps you, maybe add a couple of zeros at the end of 9.6 and at the end of 9.7. And we can clearly see that 9.683 is going to go beyond our 9.65 halfway point. 9.683 is going to go around here. So if you ride your bicycle, stop at 9.683, where are you going to end up? Yes, that's right, you're going to slide down to 9.7. So 9.683 to 1 decimal place is 9.7. So finally, let's have a look at how to round to 2 decimal places. Suppose we want to round 4.3648 to 2 decimal places. Now, because we're dealing with 2 decimal places, we need to ask ourselves if this number is closer to 4.36 or 4.37. Now, if it helps you to locate this number on our diagram, maybe add a couple of zeros at the end of 4.36 and 4.37. So we can clearly see that 4.3648 is going on the left-hand side. And in fact, it's just under half, isn't it? Because our halfway point is 4.365. So 4.3648 is going here. So imagine you're pedaling, and then you end up at that number. And you stop pedaling, and because it's less than half, you're going to slide all the way down to 4.36. Here's one final example. Round 9.3984 to 2 decimal places. In other words, we need to ask ourselves if it's closer to 9.39 or 9.40. So 9.3984 will bang in the middle. You should realise is 9.395. So 9.3984 is going past that, and this is where it will be on our diagram. So if you pedal, end up at 9.3984, stop pedaling, where do you end up? You end up at 9.40 to 2 decimal places. And that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's session on rounding decimals. Now, you're probably thinking, what about 3 decimal places, 4 decimal places, and so on? Well, you just continue the pattern. Just think about, if you're rounding to 3 decimal places, just think about the 3 digits after the point. And that's what you need to put at the base of your hill. If you do have any further questions about anything we've looked at in today's lesson, then feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video with Learn with Ryan. Bye bye.